This is the MixCoach Podcast, episode number 108. I'm talking with Joe Carrell again about plugins and which one is the best choice for this year, 2017. Stay tuned. Okay, so this podcast is a little different. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. We are not against plugins. We're not against any manufacturers. As a matter of fact, Joe and I own a lot of plugins, and we both mix with a lot of plugins. But I think where a lot of people go wrong is thinking that, and I'm guilty of it too, thinking that a plugin is going to change the world. What you're going to find about mixing, learning to mix, and mixing more consistently, mixing better, is that it's not about a plugin. It's about 1,000 little things that you do, some of which are plugins. But if you base your whole mix on a certain brand of plugin, you're going to be frustrated a lot. So that's what this episode of the podcast is about. Please don't mistake us. We use plugins. We love plugins. We're halfway addicted to plugins ourselves. But when you're young and you are learning to mix, to base it on this plugin is going to change the world and change the way I mix and make my mixes sound professional, then you might get a little frustrated. So check out this episode. Hope it helps. You did a video. You're in the middle of a series, a video series. Very best plugin choices for 2017?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, and you were talking. Can you recap that video that you did?
I can, yeah. It's I made that the title because that's the attention getter, right? I mean, everybody that does what we do, you know, especially those that are younger than us, haven't been doing it as long or whatever. I mean, the tools are the draw, right? I mean, like you and I, a lot of them grew up probably dreaming of U47s and 1176s and LA2A. You know, oh my God, if I ever get a chance to sit down in front of SSL console, I can't Snapchat it enough. So we love the tools, and you know, when you look online, I mean, there's tons of promotion for tools. You know, a lot of some of their biggest heroes are probably doing little tutorials and videos. So, you know, they know that they want, this model of a vintage compressor or that model of an EQ or whatever, but it's hard for them to decide maybe which one is right, you know, because, you know, artist A says one thing, artist B says one thing, and, you got this whole new plethora of, so guys that I guess you'd call them tutorial guys are showing, plug-in, how-to videos that have about literally 8 to 10 plugins on every channel. Mm-hmm. We're kind of obsessed with plugins. Kevin, I seen a guy the other day that was teaching. I just had to sit there and shake my head. He was using wrappers. So like there's an AAX wrapper or something for Pro Tools that you can, you wrap 5 plugins inside of it, and that way he could get more than 10 things on a lot of these channels. Right. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. But, that just proves the addiction that we're in. But the long and the short of it is, your listeners, a lot of these guys still have to make good choices. You know, it's like, how am I really going to get my mixes to sound professional? You know, do I use UAD? Do I use waves? Do I use, how much do I still use stock plugins or whatever? So, basically, let me just kind of set it up the way I did in the video. Okay. So, like you, Kevin, I've been very blessed and fortunate to have a long career. I'm in my 18th year now, and here in Nashville. So I've been, really blessed to get to use most of my dream pieces. I've been a lot of hours in front of SSL consoles and API consoles and Neve consoles and use all the hardware goodies and even own a lot of them nowadays. And so I think that makes people like me and you that don't have an agenda to push really like good sources for some of these young guys to know exactly what they really do need, to be better. How do they get professional results? So anyway, that said, I'm going to start with the 1176 because the 1176 is a real iconic piece. And every manufacturer out there has versions of it, right? So which one? All right. So I'm talking to, little Skippy there in Kansas City and he's really wondering, he really wants to know. He's got genuine interest. What would a pro that isn't on the payroll of some company, going to say? And Skippy, I'm pointing right at you. And what I'm going to say is any of them. And that's the real answer. That's the honest answer. That's not endorsement of any company. That's it. If you're a Pro Tools user, the one that comes with your DAW, that BF76, use it. If that's what you have, use the Fire app. Yeah,
right.
it is. It's a very solid, useful plugin. So there's no need. We're teaching nowadays that they have to own everything in the world in order to get professional results, because that's what we have. I mean, let's face it, we have professionals telling them that. And let's be real honest with them. No, the reason, it's fun to wish that, this $250, bus compressor, or this $500 bundle from one of our, manufacturers that we watch videos for, really was the difference, in making us great, taking us from where we are now and adding this particular EQ. By gosh, we're going to start approaching the level of our favorite pro. Man, right. I mean, because he said, if we buy this bundle, we're going to be able to turn out mixes that sound like Manny or whoever. Right. And guys, let me be real honest, because I know that's really fun to hear, but it is a complete falsehood. The reason. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, and none of us are immune to it. I know I've been there where I've been mixing something and I have a fresh plug-in on my mind, and I'm thinking, if I'll just buy this plug-in, I know that I can get the sound I want. I mean, I know that it's nothing that any of us are immune to. I think we all get gear lust sometimes, but I think knowing the truth is that, most of these rock star engineers who get the great sound all the time, they're usually good, not because they have a plethora of 1176s, but they are really good because at one time they only had one 1176, and they had to find the very best use for that for that piece of hardware. And now the fact that we can have as many as we want at our disposal at any time is not necessarily the best thing. So I think, if you want to grow as an engineer, don't buy more plugins. Use less in your mixes. And I think that's the way that you're going to progress as a mixer, is by your limitations.
Amen. I mean, let's say the real reason why a Chris Lord-Alge or whoever they're looking up to, I know he's one of the big names, why are they great? Because they've been doing this. Anybody that they look up to, anybody that they hear on the radio or whatever that they really admire, it's got Grammy nominations and whatever. The reason they're great is because they've been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, 20, or even more. They're on the other side of that curve, where you're young, a lot of your listeners aren't there yet. I mean, I'm not saying tools aren't important. I mean, we got to have tools, but guys, if your mixes that you're doing right now, let's say you have the base stock plug-in set that comes with Pro Tools or Logic or whoever, because listen, they're useful tools first and foremost. In fact, I don't think you should ever stop using them completely, because there's some, sometimes that's, flavorless, let's say, is what you're looking for. But anyway, if you can't achieve a mix, kind of an overall vibe, maybe not the final end result, but the balances are somewhat the same. The differences in how balanced is the frequency range overall, stuff. If your mixes aren't kind of approaching the sounds that you're trying to achieve or whatever, there's nothing that DSP or UAD or whoever makes that is going to get you over that hump. That's literally nothing more than hours behind the faders and honing that craft and that technique is going to do. There's not a plug-in for that. I wish there was, because I know that would make us happy, and that's what, that's just what tickles our ears. That's ear candy, but it's just not the case. And yeah, Kevin, let me, to what you were saying, we all go through it. So a young guy out there that's maybe feeling really bad right now, it's like, gosh, I'm messed up, man. Let me assure you guys, we all go through the exact same things, but we've been doing it different, for different lengths of time. So some of us are already past certain battles or certain learning experiences, and there's other people that aren't past that yet. So, I think that's where people like, me and you or whatever are I think we're doing the right thing if we pass along some of that knowledge to let some people maybe not waste $3,000 in 1 year on the plugins they don't need. Right. Use that on room acoustics or a better recording chain or keep it in your bank maybe. Use it on schooling, maybe not, in a traditional Full Sail or whatever, but even just online resources like what MixCoach or so many other offer, Right. But guys, for me, it was, and I hate to get specific with names because I don't think that does anybody a justice, but for me, Kevin, it was a bus compressor. I mean, I was already well on my way out of the plug-in obsession, realizing that, any of them will do the job. It's more a matter of how I use them. And there was a plug-in bundle that came out, and like too many others, I listened to the talk of people that, let's be really honest, don't matter, because most of the time that's the people that are talking the loudest, is the people that know the least. But it's if they talk about this stuff loudly, sometimes it maybe makes them sound like they're more knowledgeable or whatever than they are. So I listened to those voices against my better judgment, and spent $250 on this little bus compressor bundle because, man, it was the one you had to have, right? It was just rocking the world, and versus the one I'd been using for a handful of years already. And it was on sale for $250, and so I just bought it. I didn't even demo it, which is like an idiot, but I bought it and started using it because there was this particular model in there, supposed to be the change the world. And not only did it not sound any better than the bus compressor I'd been using for a couple of years, at least, but it literally made my mixes sound smaller. So my results were negative. And you know what? So was my bank account, $250 lighter. So I think there's we all have to learn in whatever way we have to learn. But I would love to think that you and I discussing this is going to save somebody. Even if it's just $100, man, money's hard to come by. Right. It just is.
So to sum this up, let me jog your memory just a little bit. You remember that I brought a group of guys on the MixCoach Experience weekend, and we all camped out at Omni for a couple of days, and we did this thing, and I even challenged you to it. We did, after we got our tracks done, I called it the 10-minute mix challenge, and we set the clock, and we pulled all the faders down, and people, the attendees there, only had 10 minutes to completely pull up a mix. And everybody pulled up a mix in 10 minutes, and they all sounded different, but they all sounded good. And in my opinion, it was because they weren't bogged down with what would be the best 1176 model to use on this vocal. It was you don't have time for that. You take what's there, and you push the fader up until it sounds good, and then that's it. And I think there's a freedom and there's a creativity that happens when you're not bound by which plug-in model to use, and instead you start playing it like a guitar, and you say, well, this is the tuning I have, or this is the kind of guitar I have. This is the way I play these kinds of guitars. Instead of trying to say, now I have a choice of any guitar possible, which one do I get? You're already wasting your brain power on.
That's exactly right.
So I think one of the antidotes to this addiction that we have sometimes is just a challenge of mixing in a short period of time with hardly any plugins, and then that plugin that you do depend on, then find ways to use that plugin. 1176 works on just about everything. LA2A, LA2As, they work on a lot of things. Pretty much every model of it is just a different variation of it. They all work the same, like you said. Any of them are a good choice.
Yeah, so, that's exactly right.
So Joe, I will put a link to your video that you did in the show notes of this podcast. And so if guys have questions, come to MixCoach.com. We'll put a link to MixCoach, and then Joe, if people have questions on the blog, you mind giving them an answer there? I'll give them places to ask questions.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think that's great. Because I really wish this message would spread, because it's not. It seems like the message that is spreading is the endorsements for why you have to have everything. Which are that we've already discussed as misleading. So it'd be great if the antidote, let's say, was starting to spread too. And, and there's probably other people saying it other than just me. I've just never seen anything. In fact, that's why I did the video, Kevin. I got so just like, enough. Somebody that hopefully these people trust as a experienced pro that, has some knowledge is saying, no, that's wrong. You do not have to spend $5,000. Right. So if they have social media, Facebook or whatever, I would really appreciate them sharing it, with some of their audio engineer friends, whether that's on their walls or just, whatever. Because that message, gosh, there's so many people that need to hear it that maybe won't have a chance because they don't follow me on social media or they're not, following MixCoach currently or whatever, and they need to hear it. So help us spread that word.
Cool. Yeah, we'll do that. Joe, been a pleasure, man. As always, I think we solved one of the world's problems here.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon, Joe.
All right, Kevin, man. I miss you.
Miss you too, buddy. Okay, again, I want to reiterate that we're not beating up on manufacturers. We love all the manufacturers that we mentioned. We love. There are a lot of bloggers out there who mean well, and they are pushing certain plugins, and they may believe in them that much, and that's cool. But just don't get too wrapped up in one manufacturer or one particular plugin or think that one's going to change the world, okay? Hope that helps. This episode is brought to you by MixCoach Member. And one of the best plugins you can actually get is to get plugged into a community of people that give you feedback. That's what we do at MixCoach Member. So come and check us out, MixCoachMember.com. You may also remember we talked about the MixCoach Experience Weekend. It's a weekend where we get together with a bunch of recording engineers and mixers, and we just sit together for 2 or 3 days, and we just we bang it out, we talk, we mix, we learn a lot. We all learn a lot. And you can find more information there at MixCoachExperienceWeekend.com.